The RSS can do anything, but no other NGO. This mindset cannot be approved. Therefore, we will oppose it very strongly. We are not going to allow them to pass.
I think it's a terrible bill. How can the government take on the right to confiscate schools, hospitals, orphanages?
The FCRA is something which has got draconian provisions, and I feel that it is to strangulate the civil society and the minorities.
Rushing and passing the FCRA bill will not serve the purpose of the FCRA bill and will not assuage the feelings of the minority community, the Christian community.
A hospital in Kerala, a school in Nagaland, a church that stood since before the East India Company arrived in India. All of them run partly on foreign money. All of them could soon lose the financial means and assets, including buildings, because of a bill the government is set to table in India's parliament, the FCRA Amendment Bill 2026. According to reports, this week it could become law.
जो सरकार कानून ला रही है, सरकार पहले ये बताए कि भारत का पैसा कितना बाहर चला जाता है, बाहर का पैसा अंदर आए उसमें पाबंदी है, लेकिन भारत का पैसा कुछ भी चला जाए उसके लिए कोई पाबंदी नहीं है.
This bill offends the fundamental objective for which the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act was put on the statute in the first place.
The opposition is up in arms, and that's because the opposition doesn't want the Modi government to bring in an amendment it fears will affect the running of thousands of institutions which run on money received by NGOs from abroad. As per reports, it could actually be presented before the monsoon session gets over on the 13th of August. You just heard some key opposition voices right at the beginning opposing the amendment. I'm Abhishek Singh, and over the next few minutes, I will try to cover questions like why is the opposition making it an issue? More importantly, why would the government want to amend the bill which has been amended several times in the past? So keep watching. Before we explore the answers to those questions, let's first try to understand what FCRA is. So FCRA stands for Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. It's been India's rulebook for foreign donations since 1976, rewritten in 2010, tightened again in 16, 18 and 2020. Every NGO, charity or religious trust that operates in India and wants to receive money from abroad needs a license under this law. And this license needs to be renewed every 5 years. Right now, about 14,400 organizations hold the FCRA license. Over 22,000 have had to face cancellations. And about another 15,000 let their licenses lapse. That's the full picture and scale of the landscape this new bill drops into. Now let's talk about what's set to change with the amendment bill the Modi government is trying to bring in. The bill was introduced in the Lok Sabha back in March, and in a nutshell, it is expected to do three big things. It will lead to the creation of a designated authority with power to take over the bank accounts, land and buildings of any group whose license is cancelled, surrendered or simply not renewed in time. Number 2. This takeover starts as provisional. However, immediately after, if the organization does not get its license and assets back and the vesting turns permanent, the government will keep all of it. Number 3. Separately, new rules already in force since June this year require groups to spend at least 10 lakh rupees of foreign funds every 2 years just to count as genuinely active or risk losing renewal altogether. In exchange, the bill lowers the maximum jail term for FCRA violations from 5 years down to 1. Now, what does this do for the stakeholders? It leads to less prison time for individuals and more reach for state over foreign funded institutions. The government's defense, led by Home Minister Amit Shah, is that this isn't a crackdown, it's a cleanup. Furthermore, in defense of the amendment, officials point to global money laundering standards set by the FATF and to years of NGOs going quiet on where foreign money actually ends up. And they further say that every order can be appealed to a district judge. Furthermore, the government's argument, despite the changes, is that places of worship will continue to keep their religious character no matter who manages them. This was clarified after Mizoram's chief minister raised alarm on behalf of the churches located in the northeastern states of the country. After this, the Home Minister personally assured Parliament the law won't apply retroactively. And the government is not just defending the charges against it in this context. It is also attacking the opposition. The Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju, for instance, has accused the opposition of spreading misinformation for political gain. The assurances from the government notwithstanding, the opposition has refused to buy the Home Minister's argument. Congress MP Shashi Tharoor has called the amendment a dangerous escalation in the centralization of executive power. Tharoor has argued that the amendment treats charities and think tanks as subjects of suspicion. He's asked for the bill to be sent before a select committee. DMK's P. Wilson led a delegation of Christian leaders straight to Home Minister Amit Shah's office, calling the asset provisions confiscatory and demanding the bill be withdrawn or sent to a joint parliamentary committee. The left has called the amendment anti-minority. Shiv Sena's Arvind Sawant called it a calculated agenda. Even the BJD, which isn't exactly a reflexive government critic, has said it wants to read the fine print of the amendment first instead of towing the government line. Now is the time for us to look at why the amendment is so contentious. So for context, the Modi government is not the first one to find issues with foreign-funded NGOs and charities. In 2012, the then Prime Minister of the country, Manmohan Singh, in the light of protests against the Kudankulam nuclear plant, had said this, and I quote, "There are NGOs often funded from the United States and the Scandinavian countries which are not fully appreciative of the developmental challenges that our country faces. The atomic energy program has got into difficulties because these NGOs, mostly I think because in the United States, don't appreciate the need for our country to increase the energy supply." Unquote. In these protests, one person died from police gunfire during intense clashes in Tamil Nadu. In 2013, 6 persons, including 3 children, died after country-made bombs exploded at Idanakarai, the epicenters of protests against the Kudankulam nuclear power plant in Tamil Nadu. In 2014, 7 country-made bombs went off in a village adjoining the nuclear plant. After this, India intensified its drive against NGOs it suspected of being hostile to national interests. The Home Ministry zeroed in on 77 organizations whose activities were scrutinized, following a crackdown on 4 NGOs for allegedly fanning protests against the Kudankulam nuclear plant. Licenses of several were cancelled. The US response was a strong denial of Manmohan Singh's charges. But it is not just an Indian argument anymore. Republican Congressman Riley Moore called the bill a clear attack against Christians, warning it could strain the entire US-India relationship. Senator James Reich, who chairs the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, called the changes deeply concerning and cautioned against any use of FCRA to pressure US-linked Christian ministries. Washington's own religious freedom watchdog, USCIRF, has pushed for years to have India named a country of particular concern. India's Ministry of External Affairs fired back, calling this a domestic matter, while pointing out that Washington regulates foreign funding of its own non-profits as well. Amnesty International and international civil society trackers like the ICNL have warned that as the same powers apply to secular NGOs, environmental groups, and human rights organizations, Indian government's move could be dangerous for all such entities. So where does a more balanced analysis land? There are 3 things worth keeping an eye on. First, the FATF defense doesn't fully hold up. FATF's own 2024 review actually called for narrower, risk-based rules targeting organizations genuinely at risk of financing terrorism, not a blanket net thrown over the whole sector. Second, due process. Permanent asset seizure, even with a judicial appeal built in, still hands enormous discretion to a government-appointed authority before any court weighs in, unless the bill is clear on what happens to assets built from a mix of foreign and domestic money. Third, the 10 lakh utilization rule could hit exactly the groups least equipped to fight back. Small rural non-profits running a single school or a single well, not the large politically connected organizations the law claims to be targeting. As of today, the bill still isn't on Parliament's official list of business. The monsoon session ends on August 13th. Congress has whipped its MPs to show up for what it is calling a decisive few days. Whether this bill passes, stalls again like it did back in April, or gets watered down at the last minute, that fight is happening right now this week inside Parliament. We'll be tracking it. On this subject, in the next few days, we will get more relevant voices for you. Keep watching this space. Thank you for watching.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.